Hey guys, welcome back to No Recipe Required. So today I'm going to do a great side dish, although it can be a main dish, especially for the vegetarians out there. Ratatouille. It's essentially a vegetable stew based in French cooking. We've got some onions, some peppers, squash and zucchini are really the main ingredients, but then a ton of flavor is brought to the table by using a good olive oil, some herbs and spices, and some garlic. First thing we're going to do, chop up our vegetables, get them sauteed, and then kind of put together. We'll finish it off in the oven. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back. So on my ratatouille, I've got several vegetables cut up here. I've got a red and yellow bell pepper. I've got some onions, a red onion and a white onion sliced up. I've got about 4 or 5 tomatoes chopped up. I've got some zucchini diced up into pieces like that. And then I've got some eggplant. Now really, eggplant's the only thing with a little trick to it. You can see here I've got a colander lined with paper towel, and then I've put my diced eggplant in there. And once I put it in there, I salted it. I literally just sprinkled salt all over it, probably more than you think. And that draws the water out of the eggplant and will make it a little bit firmer in the final dish. I've also got about 4 or 5 cloves of chopped garlic. I've got the olive oil ready to go, and I've got some thyme and oregano. Those are our basic ingredients. We're going to start cooking these vegetables separately in layers, and then we're going to put it all together to kind of roast and finish off together at the end. We'll check in as we're roasting the vegetables. Okay guys, so remember we just looked at all those vegetables. That's far too much to cook all at once. You're never going to get really a caramelization or each individual vegetable cooked the way you want. They've all got different cooking times. So what we're going to do, we're going to cook them separately. I've got a hot pan, just added the olive oil, and then I'm going to add the squash first, and just toss those guys in there. Spread them out on the pan. Hit them with salt and pepper, like we always do. And they're going to go for probably 6 to 10 minutes or so, depending on the heat. I just want to get them wilted. We're going to get one side a little caramelized, and then we're going to remove them into, you just want to make sure they're all on one layer. You don't want them stacked on top of each other. But then, like always, don't really touch them. Once these are cooked, I'm going to remove them to a dish lined with paper towel to drain, and we'll start with some of the other vegetables. Okay, now my squash have been going for 5 or 6 minutes, and they're starting to get caramelized. You can see the brown bits on them. You don't want them to go too long and get soft and mushy. You want them to retain some of that texture and firmness. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a slotted spoon so that we keep all of that oil in there. No sense in having to use more oil for our next vegetable. Okay, now so I've just transferred the zucchini over to, like I said, another tray lined with paper towel so it can drain. Again, you want to put everything kind of on one layer so that it cools off and doesn't steam itself. I've got my pan now. You want to do this kind of quickly so that the pan doesn't get too hot. And I'm going to go ahead and add my eggplant in there. Essentially the same rules apply. You want to try and get everything in and then spread out on one layer. If you do need to add a little more oil, I think I do, go ahead and do it. Now remember, we already added salt to the eggplant before to draw some of that moisture out there. So we don't really need to add any salt, but I am going to add a couple squeezes of pepper so that we season as we go. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this. Let it go for between 5 or 10 minutes. Start getting it cooked down, and then we'll keep going with the other vegetables. Okay, guys. So the eggplant is now probably half, 3/4 of the way cooked. Again, starting to see some of those brown edges. So we're going to do another transfer. I've got my slotted spoon back. I'm going to take it, put it back in that same tray with the paper towel, let it drain. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my red and yellow bell pepper ready to go. Now the peppers and the onions are probably going to take the longest to cook. Again, I need a little more olive oil in there. I'm going to go ahead, dump these guys in. and let them cook away. I've actually got enough room in this pan to where I can add some of the onions in. So I'm going to go ahead, grab those, put them in. Again, kind of saute them until they get soft, tender, and we see some of those brown edges. Okay, guys, we are back. Like I said, the peppers and the onions are probably going to take longer than anything else, and I'm going to cook them a little bit more than anything else, because certainly relative to the eggplant and the squash, they're going to be able to hold up and keep their texture, keep their shape a little bit longer. And you know, they really do benefit from a little bit deeper, longer cooking. Bring out some of those natural sugars. I've got the garlic that I peeled and chopped before. I'm going to add that to this mix. I'm also going to add the oregano that I had and the thyme. I'm just going to kind of pick off some of that fresh thyme leaf. It's all going to kind of stew together, so that should be just fine. If you want to take another minute to chop it, that would work well. I'm just a little bit lazy. I'm going to stir that up. I'm going to give the garlic probably just 2 or 3 minutes to cook. You don't want it to burn. Keep in mind it's a little tiny piece relative to everything else in there. And it'll cook a lot faster. But I'm just going to again spread it out, let it sit, let that garlic soften up a little bit, and then we will then we're going to add the tomatoes. Okay, so we've given the garlic a few minutes to cook down. I'm going to add in about a tablespoon and a half, maybe 2 tablespoons of tomato paste to give that body and a little thickness to the overall dish. I'm just going to stir that in, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit it with my chopped tomato. Make sure we get all that in there. Obviously the tomato, more than anything else, has more water. So it's going to break down and get you know, very pulpy and loose. That's totally normal. You essentially want those tomatoes to break down into almost nothing, or nothing in terms of a separate and distinct piece from the other vegetables. So while that happens, that's going to be about 10 minutes or so. At the end of that process, I'm going to add back in the zucchini, squash, toss it, let it go for a few more minutes, and then we're going to let it cool so we can set it up later for a final bake in the oven. Okay, guys, so we've let it go. We've let the tomatoes cook down. Now you can see they're pretty much disintegrated. You know, I don't really see any whole tomatoes in there. If I do, they're very few, and the wooden spoon is breaking them up pretty easily. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with just a few dashes of red wine vinegar, and that vinegar is going to give it some acidity and kind of lighten the dish up, brighten the flavors. I'm going to go ahead and add back in the squash and the eggplant that we cooked before. Shake those guys in there. And I'm going to toss it all together, turn down the heat to the lowest setting. Now I definitely don't want to get in there too aggressively now and stir it, you know, for 10 minutes, because all those vegetables will just kind of break up, and you want them to be able to maintain a little independence from each other. It also, I like to hit the dish with a good glop of extra virgin olive oil at the very end to kind of coat everything down. I'm going to let that sit on low heat for just about 10 minutes. Let all those flavors come together, and then I'm going to turn it off, let it cool. I'm not serving this for a few hours, so I'm just going to hold it in the fridge, and then when I'm ready to go, I'm going to put it in a oven-proof dish, top it with some breadcrumbs, a little Parmesan cheese, and then bake it off in the oven. That'll just take a few minutes, maybe half an hour to get up to speed, and once we're there, we'll come back. Okay, guys, so next step, I've got my ratatouille cooled down here, cooked. I'm going to I've got a little Pyrex dish here. I'm going to put some olive oil in the bottom. Again, you know, I kind of think olive oil is a friend of this dish, and it's tough to do too much. So I'm going to go ahead, give that a good coat so nothing sticks, and then just transfer the cooled off vegetables into this dish. Again, one of the beauties here is I'm not serving this for a few hours. I can easily do it ahead of time. Just arrange it, get it down even in this dish. Now, before I serve it, probably an hour before I serve it, I'm going to go ahead and put a mixture of breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese right over here just to create a little crunch, a little texture. Pop it into an oven about 350, 400 degrees for 30 or 45 minutes. Let it heat all the way through, get that top nice and crispy, and then we are ready to serve. Okay guys, so there is the ratatouille. I've put the breadcrumb crust on it, mixed with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Now I'm just going to take this, pop it in the oven for about 45 minutes until that top is golden brown and it's warm through. Alright guys, so the ratatouille has been in the oven for about an hour, and you can see that that top is a nice golden crispy color. It is it's ready to go. I'm going to let this cool off, you know, for probably 10 minutes or so it doesn't just run all over the place, and it's good to go. So thanks a lot for tuning in to No Recipe Required, and I will see you next time.